Spencer, let's pick back up with the interior of Oregon's offensive line. Like I said, I think that if Penn State can get a lot of push, then it's going to be tough for Jordan James. Penn State definitely can be right in the thick of this game, and I think it's a close game for what it's worth. But that's where you're going to have to attack. Injuries, because what I read up on Oregon. Of course, I wanted to do my homework in the fact that the guards just been a rotation because of injuries. So the number one guy at the they've just done some shuffling. So this isn't even their best group for the Ducks.
It's the best they've got. It's not what we expected coming into the season. If you'd asked me on August 30th, Zach, I guess we knew injuries at that point. So let's say August 15th.
Preseason, yeah.
Yeah, preseason. Who's going to be Oregon's starting offensive line? I would have said Josh Connerly. He will start on Saturday night in Indianapolis. Marcus Harper at left guard. He could come back. He's been questionable. I think he was in pads last week, but didn't play against Washington. I would have said Poncho or Iapani Laloulu at center. Goes by Poncho. He will start. At right guard, I would have said Matthew Bedford. He has not played meaningful snaps this season. The Indiana transfer, I think he's going to redshirt and come back for a seventh season of college football next year. And at right tackle, I would have said Johnny Cornelius, and he will start this Saturday. So 3 of the 5 as expected. But you're right that the guard spots, it's been a rotating group of guys. You've had Davey Uli get some snaps over the second half of the year. Kavika Rogers, Nishad Strother. That's been the rotation since Marcus Harper got hurt against Michigan. And I think the game that you look at and say the interior of the offensive line really didn't have its best effort and it cost Oregon was the Wisconsin game. I think Oregon's inability to consistently run the football at a high level was detrimental to their offense. Dylan Gabriel was a little bit off. It was windy. I think they were tired in that game. They were playing their 8th straight conference game and they were on the road. Wisconsin was at home off a bye and they looked significantly better against Washington last week. They protected Dylan Gabriel. There was not a single, get this, Zach, against Washington last week. Granted, Penn State fans know the Huskies not a great team this year. They're a bowl team, but not a great team regardless. Not a single play for Oregon until quarterback kneel downs went behind the line of scrimmage. There were 0 TFLs. There were 0 sacks in the game last week. It was the best offensive line game Oregon has had this season, and they've been rotating those 3 guard spots. So, yeah, I think that's a really important position group for Oregon to match up against Penn State in this game.
How healthy is Tez Johnson?
Healthy. He looked last week like he was getting back to game speed, and he didn't have a catch, I don't believe, in the first half, and then started to get his feet wet a little bit in the second half and got back into it. Caught a touchdown, and on that touchdown, he looked like Tez Johnson. Oregon actually had 2 guys wide open on the play. They ran a little rub route and Stewart was open, but Dylan Gabriel trusted that Tez Johnson was going to get open, liked the look pre-snap. He had soft coverage with a safety and just walked by him to the corner, and Gabriel put it on the money. And once he caught that ball and you watched the replay and saw how fluidly he ran and the ease with which he caught it, got the feet down and whatnot, I think Oregon fans looked at that and said, okay, this guy's back. And it clearly matters. It clearly helps. There are other really good receivers. I'm curious to see how they match up against this Penn State secondary. I know A.J. Harris has been a great player for Penn State this season, but
he'll go up against Evan Stewart most likely.
That's the interesting question.
Because Tez Johnson's in the slot and A.J. Harris is the boundary corner for Penn State. So
usually, yeah, I think that could be the most common matchup is Stewart against Harris. But if that's the case, if you take away Evan Stewart, he had one.
That's where I don't know Penn State can compensate. So then, okay, how do you double Tez Johnson?
Right.
And then you're going to leave Trayshawn Holden in one-on-one coverage. And I also look at Terrence Ferguson. I think Terrence Ferguson is kind of that unsung hero in this case. Penn State learned its lesson against Ohio State, not in the fact, okay, that was a 1-score 20-13 game. They didn't get blown out. But when Ohio State just needed a guaranteed play, they needed 10 yards, 15 yards, whether it was after a penalty or needed a first down. It was 3rd and 8. Jeremiah Smith, Emeka Ibuka, Carnell Tate, all those guys could just get open. Brandon Innes, even. They had a 4th option. Just could get open in one-on-one coverage. And I look at that again, and I say Oregon has the same setup. Tez Johnson, first-round pick, I imagine, at some point. Maybe?
I don't think he's got the physical traits to be a first round. I think he's 3rd round at highest. His ceiling.
NFL caliber, though. He's the same thing with Evan Stewart.
Yeah, Stewart it has a higher ceiling in the NFL. He will be drafted higher than Tez Johnson will.
So there we
Tez
go, a
Johnson,
round 2 and round 3 receiver.
Stewart is, yeah. Like maybe late for. I think Evan Stewart's probably mid to late second round, maybe early third, would be my guess. Tez Johnson's ceiling in the NFL is my guy Tyler Lockett for the Seahawks, who has been playing for so long. I mean, such a long time. He's not a big guy, but he is fast. He is an excellent route runner. He's got really good hands.
Yeah.
And he doesn't take hits. So that's where I think Tez's NFL prospects lie. And what I have loved about this Oregon offense is what you alluded to. Hey, if you take one corner and say, we're going to put him on this guy over, we want to take that guy away, or we're going to give safety help over here and drop a safety in the box to take away the run, we'll leave that guy on a one-on-one. I trust whoever that guy is. I don't care. Like I as an Oregon guy, I do not care. Trayshawn Holden last week got some 1v1s. He ran some of the best routes I've ever seen him put on defenders, and he created the first explosive play of the day for Oregon's offense in the passing game. Yep. He just straight up beat a guy off the line of scrimmage, juked him out of his shoes. Gabriel puts it on him over the middle, and he can pick up those yards after the catch. Tez Johnson can go deep. He can run short. Stewart can do the entire route tree at a high level with great hands. So they've all been really, really good. And I think that question is one that I'm confident with Oregon is, hey, if A.J. Harris takes away X guy, do you have confidence in guys Y and Z? My answer is absolutely yes.
And then if you play two safeties over the top, then you're taking away resources from stopping Jordan James, who obviously has the most touchdowns accounted for outside. Gabriel obviously has 24 passing touchdowns, but in terms of touchdowns scored, it's a pick your poison situation, and that's why I've gone on the record already. I don't have Penn State winning this game. I don't think they win the Big Ten championship. And is it close? Yes. It's not. The two teams that Penn State needs to avoid in the postseason are Ohio State and Oregon. Everybody else, they actually match up pretty well with. So when I look at Oregon and Ohio State, I look at those two teams as the top two teams. And I know Ohio State lost to Michigan. I get that.
I still can't believe that.
It helps. It doesn't help Penn State. We'll see how the committee reacts to it. If Penn State ends up getting the 5 seed, then yes, it helps Penn State. But I don't know how the committee is going to react. History tells me otherwise, that Penn State is going to get penalized for a hypothetical loss. And I'm going to side with the fact that I think they lose this game 31-24.
31-24. I was going to save my prediction for tomorrow, but I'll drop it. I'll drop it here since you did. I've got Oregon winning 27-17. Oregon's favored by 3.5 points. I think it is more likely that Oregon wins the game by double digits than Penn State, but I do not look at this matchup, Zach, and say, yeah, I think Oregon's roll. I think Oregon wins by 20. Like if Oregon ends up winning this game by 17 to 20 points or so, and it's not close at the end, I'm going to have to take deep breaths and say, oh my gosh, is this really the year? Like, is this,
well, then,
is this the team?
Oregon becomes the vaulted, like unquestioned favorite for the national title.
Well, they're already the betting favorite right now, and I think they should be the unquestioned favorite. I agree. Because I think you still have people who say, oh, well, Texas, and we'll see how they do against Georgia. I think they'll probably win that game at the end of the day, because I think Georgia's good. I don't think Georgia is good enough to beat Texas twice. So I think for Oregon in this spot, I'd expect them to win by in the kind of 8 to 10 point range at the half. I bet this is a wildly competitive game, but I think this is one, Zach, that just comes down to the coaching matchup, is who can play the chess game better, which team could be better situationally. And I think that's how either side finds an edge, because overall, I think Oregon has more talent than Penn State, but I don't see that gap as being huge, especially with the way the Nittany Lions have played in the last couple of weeks.
Well, and that's how I look at it. It's not that Penn State can't win this game, that it's impossible, that it's a blowout type of situation for Oregon. All those things, are they all possibilities? Yes, Oregon could blow up Penn State. Penn State could win convincingly. But when I look at, okay, how many ways can Oregon win this game? More so than Penn State.
I agree with that.
So if Oregon has more opportunities and more ways to win this game, then I'm going to side with the fact that, yes, on average, and then therefore that's how we. And Penn State's problem isn't the offense. So 17 points, I think that's your confidence in an Oregon defense, and I'm not saying that's bull or anything. I see it. Oregon's defense is going to be just as tough as Ohio State's here. But Penn State's issues lie defensively and not offensively. I think the offense is clicking as much as it can at this point in time. Andy Kotelnicki has been God's greatest gift to Drew Aller in this Penn State offense, and that's why they're even at this point in time, because of Kotelnicki and Aller getting progressively better and more confident as he plays more college football.
That's Zach's. That on that side over there, I'm not a meteorologist, is Zach Sago, Locked On Nittany Lions. I'm Spencer McLaughlin, Locked On Ducks. This has been a Locked On Crossover. As always, appreciate everyone listening. We will see you next time. And until then, hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.